Alright, so top of the morning to you laddies. My name is Man Buck. Welcome back to the old school series here on good old Midwest Horizon, where today is finally the first cutting that I have been able to get out and do of our little hay ground here. I'm going to cut this spot on the right side of the road as well as the left side of the drive, so that way I can get as much grass as I absolutely can. Now the big plans today is we're going to be heading over to our neighbors to go look at possibly getting ourselves a little garden tiller, as I kind of am a little late to the punch of actually planting a garden, but it's also been relatively dry out here this year. It's not too bad right now. We did just get some rain about 3 days ago, about maybe 3/100ths of an inch. But the problem is now is I'm starting to slip really bad out here because some of this stuff just like retains water a lot. And there's more rain coming in the forecast. Well, with that rain though, I want to get the hay down, at least let it dry somewhat to where I can bale it. And then we also have to get out and start doing our second round of spraying. We already did basically a pre-emerge to, in essence, seal out any of the early weeds on our crops. But we have all of our crop in the ground, and now I want to get this, since it's already out of the ground, we'll get our last round of spraying in for the season. But I need to fix the sprayer, as the boom arm has a, in essence, a fracture of a weld. I'll explain more once we actually go and look at it, but in essence I have to get the welder out and take a look and re-weld part of the boom arm, since it doesn't have really a breakaway. I hit something like a handful of years ago and it ended up like cracking the actual boom. Well, I didn't weld it correctly last time, so we're going to re-weld that and make sure it's sturdy and we don't have to do it again. But either way, I'm just kind of going in circles at this point, and the one thing that sucks is that I do have a Slip Destroys Field mod in, so I actually am like kind of tearing the living bejesus out of this ground right now, but it's not too bad. If you guys have not already, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe down below, as you do know we are on our race to the 100,000 subscriber mark by the end of this year. You guys have been fantastic with helping me get to that goal, and I am just really tearing up the field with this thing today, aren't I? The nice thing is that the place that we need to go look at the tiller is actually right across the road at my neighbor's with the red barn over there. He also tends to have from time to time stuff sitting out front that he's selling off for just used things, but this tiller is just like, it doesn't run. It's in the back. It's old. It's actually a really big, pretty big self-propelled tiller, so that'll help us kind of make a nice little garden for some extra crops, and the wife can do whatever she needs to do with that for produce, so we don't have to go to the grocery store, because we all know how expensive those things are. But we're going to get a little bit of grass cutting here done. Maybe set up Daryl, have him set up shop, and then we're going to head out to the main shop, and we'll kind of go start working on our sprayer. But like I mentioned, we have a problem right now with our, basically it's the driver's side boom arm. The issue being is that right here on this like contact point between our linkage and the boom arm is there's no breakaway. This is one singular bar that comes out here, and as you can kind of see when we look at it, there's a really bad crack right on here that we ended up welding like 3 years ago, but it, since all of the just the roughness of everything else, it's bobbing and shaking, and periodically I'll be turning around and I'll hit something with this. That weld is breaking loose. I didn't do it right in the first place, so we're going to basically shave that off, re-weld it, get this thing ready to go, maybe shoot it with a quick round of paint, then we're going to get our chemicals loaded up, and we're going to do our second round of spraying on all the crops, so that way we can make sure we get all of our weeds taken care of, as we want to stay ahead of that. And the 4030 has been prepped, it's ready to go, this thing's been a tank. The other thing that we have going on in the shop right now is the 850, which we all know this is a mocked up, modified version. This is not a factory tractor. I'm currently in the process of rebuilding this hub, as I could hear a lot of grinding going on, and I found out that actually the axle itself, it wasn't installed right, so it like slightly broke itself, and it's just disassembly, reassembly, finding parts. I ended up also going to a swap meet in Kentucky when I was looking for some parts for the Camaro, which we're starting to work on the drivetrain underneath that right now. We finally put some new shocks in, but I'm rebuilding the differential and everything else, and the gas tank in that thing was gone, so I had to find a gas tank. I found a gas tank for both this and this. Well, this is a diesel tank, of course, but either way, we have a new fuel tank in this thing. It already runs. We got new battery. We changed the fluids. Everything on this is working. It's just that I'm trying to get this hub done because I would like to have this to help with baling season, as this is going to be a really nice tractor for that. I might have to get an umbrella or something I'm not standing out in the complete open. And the Honda over here is just sitting. It's just kind of chilling. But yeah, underneath the Camaro, like I said, we're kind of working on the axle right now. It's nothing pretty for certain. Yes, Farmer Joe is sleeping. It's the diff's like really just messed up, but it's nothing that we can't fix. I really want to try and put some money into it, but there's just not a lot of money sitting around right now. The car is just going to sit as is. We did, however, drop the fuel tank, and we did start pulling lines and brake lines and everything else. I am probably going to make a trip off of Facebook Marketplace and pick up some spare wheels for right now until I can maybe get these ones redone. So it's got a lot of process to go. We'll sand it off, primer it, and do body work where it needs to be. But that's kind of what we got going on in the shop right now. I did, however, once we get the baling stuff done over there, about 3 weeks ago, since it's been a couple months since we've seen you guys, I did end up finding, for about $1,500, a second 258 tedder rake, as well as this, like, split bar that someone custom made for one of these things, so I can run dual on that, and I'd rather have that 850 pulling that than the Ford 3600, just for the sake of power. But that's kind of what we're going to be using to ted the grass over there, so then we can windrow it and then bale it with our little square baler. So a lot of little projects that are going on, and I know that neighbor that wants to sell the tiller has a brick nose Ford, and he kind of wants to trade me up for my Jeep. I don't want to get rid of that Jeep truck. That thing's amazing, plus I got my fuel tank in the back, and I really don't want to get rid of that. So let me know down in the comments. I'll probably put a survey up in the community chat afterwards. Do we keep the Jeep, or do we go and swap out for the brick nose Ford? So either way, let's pull out our Clark welder here quick. We'll just kind of roll this back. We'll sand down our contact area where we're going to be working. Like I said, it's just right in between here. Get that sanded, get it prepped, make sure our hoses and connectors are out of the way, which this thing's already prepped for spraying. We've already completely checked all of our lines, checked all of our hoses. It's already sprayed once. So we already have everything on that, so we'll just sand this down quick, make sure we have a fully perfect contact surface where when we weld this thing together, it should not break, at least for another couple years, and we'll go on from there. That should be all there is to it. I actually did get a lot better at my bead welds on this one now, so that weld, like I said, the first time I did it, it was garbage. It just didn't work at all. So let's just give this thing a shot of green paint quick. We'll let that dry. Let's put this back where it belongs. And we should technically be good enough to pretty much let this sit outside and cure. It's going to be hot enough today, so we'll kind of keep a fan on in here. More or less, I could probably actually turn on this halogen lamp just for the sake of, you know, it creates heat. So we got parts coming in for the 850, so hopefully by the end of this episode or the next episode, this 850 will be up and running. We're not going to really repaint or do anything to that tractor right now just because I want to get that thing working. Fuel lines, all of our hose connections have been replaced on it. That tractor's good to go. We just need to fix that front wheel assist so we're not breaking this axle even more, because finding this axle is not going to be a fun process if we actually do end catastrophically breaking it. Well, let's go check on Daryl where he's at, so we'll just kind of take the Honda if I can get it out here quick, and we'll go see where he's at. And just as I figured, Daryl gave me the call, said he ended up getting stuck, which it's just as simple as the AI just can't really, that front mower doesn't like adjust to the ground, so in reality it shouldn't get stuck, nor should it be tearing up the ground, but it is. So what I think I'm going to have him do is I'm going to set him going east-west instead, since I don't think these hills are as drastic of a change as more or less going north-south. So we'll set Daryl back up again here quick and get him running, because we are going to need to have this grass in order to make the bales. It's pretty common knowledge on how that one works. Okay, so we have Daryl running back on that now. I have to take the blade off the front of this thing because, you know, when you're running and I don't even need the blade. I mean, from time to time I'll use it to push gravel and just kind of like level out, but there's no point in having it on right now, and there's of course no snow. But what we're going to do is we're going to run over to Don's, my neighbor, and we're going to go and check out this tiller that he wants to sell me. So he's probably, I think he only wants like $200 for it because the motor doesn't run. It's been sitting for years. The paint's garbage on it. It's dirty. It's buried in the mud. But I don't think it's going to be too bad. That way I can also use it for the next upcoming gardening season, so I can tear that up and just have a big little garden in the backyard. This is what I was talking about, how he just kind of from time to time, just stuff on the yard, he just ends up selling. I want that Ford, the brick nose. It's a 90, and I believe it's got the 7.3 diesel in it, to my knowledge. Let me go check that quick. I mean, the truck itself, it's beautiful. I think he said it only has like 95,000 miles on it. Four-wheel drive, it's got big, beefy Continental tires on it. But yeah, I mean, it's gooseneck, cam lock, red interior, red pinstripe. I mean, it's a really nice truck. I've also been kind of looking at this blade just for the sake of, again, it's kind of a bigger version of what I use this for in the fall, but I don't have the money right now to be going and throwing around. I'd love that wheel ridge too. The four-wheeler I don't need because we already have the 4-tracks, but yeah, let's go talk to Don and we'll see what we can do about this tiller. Hey, Don, how we doing? Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I know, the coffee this morning at Casey's was, you know, a little cold. But I hear you got that tiller. He still said it's sitting out back, so said, what, 200 bucks for it? I think we can make that work. How's that 7700 still treating you? Not too bad, not too bad. That actually is that's a lot bigger than I remember it being. This thing's actually counterbalanced really nice. It doesn't take much to actually, like, get it up off the ground. And now I'm locked in a corn crib. Nice. Well, I mean, I'd definitely be able to take the thing off your hands because I really want to try and build myself a garden in the backyard, but I didn't have an actual tiller that'd be good enough for the job, and I'm not going to go buy one of those cheap electric ones you can buy like Home Depot for $250 because that thing will last me a year. But yeah, I mean, would you ever consider possibly selling your combine? Because I really do like that 7700 you got that sits in here. Can we just kind of take a look at that? I mean, look at that. I mean, it's rough. I take that, but it's such a nice looking combine. Plus, the case I got, it's rather have green to match the rest of the farm. You know, so that's understandable. Yeah, I can come back this afternoon at about, maybe 10 o'clock or something. I can come pick it up. I got cash right now I can give to you. All right, we can do 250. Nice. Well, there you go, Don. Thank you, sir. We'll come back, like I said, about 10 o'clock or so. We'll come pick this up, and I'll get it in the shop, and I'll see what I need to do to get that thing running, because that's definitely going to be a nice little asset. As for your Ford that sits down on the street, do you still want to possibly do a trade for my Jeep for that truck? Because I really don't want to get rid of mine. I'm trying to do this. I'll let my audience decide because I got some people that watch like a vlog style stuff that I do, and I think they'd really. I'm pretty sure they'd want me to trade that Jeep off, but I really do like the Jeep. So if that's still of interest to you, I'm gonna put out a community thing. We'll see what the crowd wants for that. I guarantee you they want me to trade. So if it doesn't sell, I'll keep in touch with you. So we're gonna come back up here about 10 o'clock, pick that up, get that tiller in the shop, and we'll start taking that apart. I might be able to run into Deere, kind of give or take, if FedEx shows up today with the parts for that 850, because I really want to get that thing out there so I can start tedding the grass, just so I'm not using that Ford, because the problem is if that Ford starts slipping, it's just going to rip up the grass, and I'd rather have something that I know is going to have the power to do what I need it to do without tearing up the ground. So either way, let's get back to the shop, get the sprayer ready to go with the chemicals, and get the Chevy out to the field so we can start spraying. By the looks of it, the tackiness on that paint's not too bad, so let's fold up our boom arms here without getting in the four-wheeler. Get in the 40-30. There we go. I'm going to run inside quick, get on my coveralls, and then we should technically be ready to go, because, like I mentioned, we'll get this. We've already gotten all of our lines prepped, our chemicals mixed. They're sitting on the trailer right there, and we'll be out and in the field. And after a quick beer and a restroom break, we are pretty much set to go, besides obviously getting the truck hooked up to our chemical trailer. So let's get this out to our field. So we're going to be applying actual fertilizer as herbicide. I don't think I have. Okay, I see some spotted weeds over here. I'm going to try and follow the rows as best I can. I'm probably going to end up also calling Corey out here to run this for me, since I also have to get back out over to Daryl and check where he's at, but we'll do this for a little bit. Now, if I'm correct, this sprayer actually does, like, destroy the crops for some odd reason. Like, they didn't set the wheels to be basically row crops. Oh, okay, they also didn't do it for this corn. Nice. So we are going to end up losing a little bit here. That's convenient. Well, if we can keep it right between the rows, we should be fine. So we've run into a bit of a problem. My farmall here, I know with the row crop tires, does not destroy the crop, but this sprayer does. And I would rather not lose my entire crop just because I want to spray my field. So I have one of two options. One, I unload what's in this tank and go and get myself a 3-point self-propel, like it's a 3-point sprayer. And then I could spray with that. Or I go and possibly talk to Don and see if I can't use his little Grew-mobile. Because this is obviously not going to work if I'm taking out that much corn with this wide of a boom width. So we're going to run the Jeep over here to Don's quick, as I already got the trailer behind me, as you can see in the mirror. We're going to talk to him about possibly borrowing that Grew sprayer of his, and now I don't think that he's going to let us, just for the fact that it's got some problems going on with it too in terms of it running right. So we might just have to get on Craigslist or Auction House or something quick and look for a cheap buy, like within $3,000, because again, I don't have much money to be working with here right now. Alright, Don, well, obviously I got my Jeep here, so you can kind of take a look at that if you really are really that interested and adamant about buying it, but I got a question for you. Is there any way I could possibly borrow your Grew sprayer, the 6000? And I need like either a 3-point or if yours can do the job right, because I think my corn's a little too tall now. I gotta do it somehow, and I don't think I have what it takes to do it right now. So you're not gonna really be able to... Ah, so yours does the destroying of it too? Alright, well, I'll at least get this in here. That should be good enough. I'll just go and look on like Craigslist or something to see whether or not I can find like a 3-point or whatnot. Because I gotta be able to spray that round of chemical on there, otherwise I'm not gonna have a crop this year because it'll just be eaten away by the weeds, so. Thanks, Don. We'll keep in touch. So we got that strapped down, so we'll make our way home. And I'm just going to look on Craigslist and eBay more or less. I don't think eBay is going to really have anything, but Craigslist is probably going to be my best alternative because Auction House is going to take too long and it'll probably be about 4 or 5 states over. So if we can find something here within the next 3 hours, if we could find something here within the next couple hours, at least that's within distance, I might go and pick it up, because we gotta have something to go and spray that chemical. Well, I have good news. I ended up looking on the auction house, and a listing for one of these Plymouth Trimit 303s came up. It's just the width of it's an 8-meter sprayer. It's not gonna be anything huge, but I mean, it's the best I got. The guy wants $3,500 for it at the dealer. I want to see whether or not I can just almost trade straight up with this bad boy, so... I'm just going to swap out for my hitch that I can pull this sprayer with. We'll unload the chemical, we'll wash it out quick, and we'll run in. It's about 20 minutes away. We'll run over there to see if we can't get a trade-in value and just trade this thing off, because I got to be able to spray, and I don't think this is going to be able to do it. Okay, so I am actually very pleased. We ended up going to the dealer, and they gave me $3 grand for the other sprayer, which means we only had to pay an extra $500 for this little guy, which it might take us a little bit longer now to... Oh, let me stay in my lane. It might take us a little bit longer now to, in essence, you know, spray the fields, but at least now we'll have something that we can load with chemical, and then I can actually apply it without destroying, you know, 60% of the crop in the field because the tires just destroy the crop. That's also just farm sim being farm sim, but trying to stay as logical as possible with not wasting as much money as possible, this is what I technically have to do. So, we will just kind of keep on keeping on. We'll reload the sprayer and just kind of get to doing a little bit of spray work. to notice, and it's really making me mad, is the fact that it doesn't necessarily matter where I'm at. The way this game determines where you slip is kind of dumb, because there's an entire like row that's like 3 or 4 rows that's missing now in the one like big area that it's actually got weeds, which in reality I don't necessarily need to have this in there right now because there's no weeds in this spot. And I could technically let like little guys like those go, but like that, like there, it says that I'm slipping. Like, no, I'm not slipping. I just throw it in 6th and I call it good. I love the game to death, but that's it. Slipping should not take out 17 lines of corn stalks just because the game says you're slipping. So we'll ride down this row for a little bit, is where you guys can see that maybe that little brown patch in the top right, top left, or middle, something of that nature. That's where the biggest chunk of weeds is in this field. I mean, you could see like when you kind of go up and above, like there's an entire dark green spot, right, well, lighter green spot, and that's where all the weeds are. All the weeds are right in this central area. I didn't think there was this many from when we originally sprayed the first time, but, you know, sometimes it is what it is. I noticed, though, that if I keep it in the H2 for my gearing, it doesn't slip nearly as bad, and I don't have to worry about nearly as much corn that's going to be pretty much, like, you know, torn up. If I put it in high gear, it acts like it almost, like, kicks on the torque, and then it just takes out a crud ton of corn. So we'll work our way through the pack, and we'll see where we leave off, because I'm going to have to refill at the end of this pass anyway. Looking at our weed monitor here, what's really surprising, and we'll see as time goes on, I know I need to plow 32 because I haven't done really that much work to it yet, but what I need to see is, of course, the weed control that's on there. That one doesn't look bad. 33 I planted myself, and that was the latest of the crop. So in reality, it's both our cornfields that are going to be soaked up, which that's not surprising. But we got a majority of the weed control going on here. So we're going to hit these big spots in the middle, maybe try and hit this other big spots kind of right around here, and of course here, blah, 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 blah. Which, what's nice is we already hit the top side. Once we get these 2 fields sprayed, we should be good. Everything else seems to be fine. We don't have a whole lot of rocks by the looks of it either. I do need to roll this, which I thought this was already rolled, but it might have been just because I already did seed bed stuff to it. So either way, that's kind of what it looks like right now. We got a handful of weeds that we need to fix on that. That'll be our goal. So Daryl gave me a call. He says he's just about done. He's got about 2-3 passes left on that. We finished up spraying the majority of our the plots up here. Like I said, those are, the dots might look big, but that's literally like 2 or 3 rows of just like 1 or 2 little spot patches. So that's going to be good. So we're going to load up our sprayer here with another round of chemical. But I'm also, because of the fact I have a second IBC tank here, I'm going to load that in the back of the Jeep while we take the Chevy over there as well. Since we are I just want to get this done and over with. That way we can actually, you know, have fun with what we're doing. Got about 100 gallons left in this tank, and then of course our other herbicide tank is, I believe, might be somewhere around the same, if not a little bit less. Technically I should just mix the two together, but might as well just keep them separate. So load this in the Jeep. So let's get one strap over the top of that. Oh, we can lock it down on both. Nice, both. Ooh, okay, that might be the parts for our 850, so I'm actually going to take those over to the shop, too. We'll load those up, and we'll get the sprayer going again here, and we'll probably catch you guys once we start getting the hay ground messed with, like once we start more or less tedding grass. So we'll load up these part boxes on the skid steer, and we'll move our way over to the 850 as well. So in our boxes here, we have all of our components we're going to need to rebuild this hub. We also have our new fluid, so we can make sure that this hub stays lubricated, because I think that was probably half the problem, is that no one ever decided to look and change the oil in any of this stuff, or check it, and make sure it wasn't low, and it ran dry, and as we all know, when things are running dry on older, bigger equipment like this, it tends to wear out a lot faster. So let's start actually by grabbing our box fan on the opposite side here, just so we don't, you know, cook ourselves, since it is June, and we are starting to more or less just pick up steam with temperatures. Always good to have good airflow. Okay, we got that. Make sure that is on. And we're going to also start by getting all of our hub bolts out here. There we go. Let's take our axle, slide that out, because obviously that is our worst part. Yikes, that needs to be really cleaned out. Shop rags, where are those at? Right here. I'm actually going to grab this light too. I want to make sure I have enough light to see in this thing. It's kind of becoming just more and more of a pain by the day, isn't it? There we go. That makes things a little bit easier to see. Okay. Let's take our hub components, old gear, little axle, let's grease that up, shop rags, clean that out, brake cleaner. We know the drill, how to clean these things out. New seals, put that on. Put our cap back on there. With all those buzzed down, let's grab our torque wrench. There we go. Jack stand is now out. And to my knowledge, this now should, in full and in tail, work. We should have full front wheel assist, and the tractor should work just fine. We have life, baby. We have life. Let's just check and see whether or not... Okay, our power steering's working, because I had to get a new one of those. I like where this is going. Let's just see if we can't sneak this puppy out of here. I don't hear any grinding, so that's definitely good. That was the biggest problem, is that we had a lot of grinding noises coming from that front end. So we completely replaced the entire hub assembly on this front driver front side. I did take apart the left and look at it a little bit. It just needed the fluid change as it was low. I think the seal went bad on this side, which is what caused the fluid to leak out, and then of course the extra wear and tear. So we ended up putting the new seal on the left side as well, topping it off with new fluids, flushing everything else. Like I said, we also put in a new fuel tank. I don't hear anything. I believe this tractor's up and good. This is another 95 horsepower tractor, and now we obviously have front wheel assist, so that'll help us greatly. Just put some fuel in it, top it off with service-wise, and this thing will be good to go. So I'm not gonna lie, this thing actually looks really, really cool, but I'm gonna top it off with diesel quick because we really only put enough in there to make sure that it had enough to start. We had no leaks. The thing about the fuel on this was that the fuel tank wasn't completely rusted through, but it was enough that where if like we were to technically sandblast it or clear it out and basically make the thing like actually hold or try to fix this fuel tank, we ran the risk of the metal being too thin and then basically destroying it. So it was just easier to go and try and find a new fuel tank, which of course finding it was not easy, but we did finally come across one. So Daryl has given me the word that he's going to go and grab himself some lunch quick, so he's going to go over there. I am going to get started raking hay because, you know, we need bail money, and to do bail money, that sounded messed up because we're not going to jail, but I'm going to start tedding this stuff up, and just as I envisioned, this tractor is working phenomenally. We'll kind of rake all this up, and if I can get one for a decent price, I might try and grab myself a windrower. That's going to probably do it for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for checking out the Old School series. Be sure to also check out the Old School series playlist so you guys can keep up, and also watch back all of our previous episodes here on this glorious farm series as we kind of keep finding our way through the series together. It's always kind of fun to find new objectives and new tasks and new ways to innovate. But that'll do it from me, guys. Be sure to check out the Boomstick Club for all the up-to-date content from me and the gang. You already know who is in it, and I shall see you all in the next one. This is the Rental Man out. Peace.